Long ago, in the heart of the sun-kissed savannah, there existed a mighty kingdom ruled by King Ekundayo, a kind-hearted leader known for his fairness and generosity. The villagers called his land the Marula Kingdom, famed for its lush baobab trees and the sweet fruits that nourished its people year after year. Flanked by the rolling golden plains and blessed with gentle rains, Marula Kingdom was a place of abundance and joy. For many years, King Ekundayo and his beloved wife, Queen Nambala, prayed for a child. They often visited the sacred groves under the ancient baobabs, leaving offerings of Marula fruit and millet before the spirits, asking to be blessed with an heir. One evening, as dusk wrapped the kingdom in a warm, purple sky, a wandering griot, storyteller, arrived at the palace gates. He chanted old songs of hope and prophesied that soon, a child would be born, destined for great things. The king and queen felt hope ignite in their hearts once more. Shortly after, Queen Nambala discovered she was expecting. Months passed and, with each rising sun, the people of Marula Kingdom could sense the excitement growing in the palace. When the time came for the queen to give birth, the entire kingdom celebrated, setting up colorful canopies in the village squares. Drummers from nearby regions gathered to play their rhythms day and night, while children danced around the fires, singing to welcome the long-awaited princess. At last, Queen Nambala delivered a daughter. Her skin was as smooth and radiant as freshly polished ebony, and her eyes sparkled like the sun's reflection on a river at dawn. Because of her shining presence and the warmth she brought into every room, the queen named her Zuri, a name meaning beautiful in their language. Though joy filled the palace corridors, and ill wind soon followed, the queen grew weak after childbirth. Skilled herbalists and medicine women came from distant lands with potions and remedies, but to no avail. Before dawn of the seventh day, Queen Nambala passed away, leaving King Ekundayo to mourn and raise his daughter alone. Under the brilliant African sunrise, King Ekundayo gazed upon his infant daughter, her laughter like a bell tinkling through the quiet, sorrowful halls. In his grief, he vowed never to let harm come to the child who so reminded him of his cherished queen. Yet, fate had different plans. The Marula Kingdom would soon face new challenges, beginning with an unexpected visitor at the palace gates. Unbeknownst to them all, this arrival would sow the seeds of envy and danger that would change Zuri's life forever. As word spread across the vast plains that King Ekundayo was left to rule alone with his infant daughter, royal messengers and dignitaries from neighboring kingdoms began to arrive at the Marula Kingdom's gates. Each brought condolences, gifts, and offers of alliance. The king, still mourning Queen Nambala, struggled to receive so many visitors, but he knew his duty was to protect and strengthen the realm for young Princess Zuri. Among these visitors was a refined and mysterious noblewoman from the distant kingdom of Katembo, Lady Kamali. She was tall, poised, and adorned in gold bangles that jingled like distant rain each time she moved her slender arms. Her garments were woven from the finest Ken cloth, shimmering with colors of deep red, royal purple, and ebony black. At her side traveled a retinue of guards dressed in matching attire, silent and stern. Days of diplomatic talks turned into weeks, and over time, Lady Kamali began to offer comfort and friendship to King Ekundayo. She spoke softly of wanting to help him carry the burdens of the kingdom, noting that the people needed a caring queen by his side. The king, longing for companionship and a mother figure for Zuri, found himself drawn to Lady Kamali's graceful presence and unwavering confidence. Soon, under pressure from advisors who feared Marula Kingdom might appear vulnerable without a queen, King Ekundayo agreed to marry Lady Kamali. A grand ceremony was planned. Musicians and praise singers from all corners of the Marula Kingdom filled the palace courtyard. Drums echoed across the savannah at sunset, and the sky glowed in hues of crimson and gold. The entire kingdom turned out to witness the celebration, hopeful that this union would restore joy and stability after the queen's passing. Yet, as dusk cast long shadows on the palace walls, a subtle unease grew in the hearts of some who watched Lady Kamali's still, assessing gaze upon the young princess. There was a quiet intensity behind her kind smile, an unreadable aura that seemed to slip into the night. For hidden within Lady Kamali's ornate luggage was a mystical relic known only in hushed whispers throughout the region, the ebony mirror. She alone knew its power, a power that would soon entwine her fate with that of Princess Zuri in ways the kingdom could never have foreseen. From the day she stepped foot into the Marula Kingdom, Lady Kamali had carried herself with an elegant composure that seemed perfectly suited for a queen. As the palace settled into the rhythm of life after King Ekundayo's marriage, servants scurried through the corridors, tending to her needs and adjusting to her meticulous standards. Weeks blended into months, and young Princess Zuri grew from a toddling infant into a curious child who roamed the palace gardens with boundless energy and an insatiable sense of wonder. The first sign of Lady Kamali's more secretive nature appeared late one night, long after the royal family had retired to their chambers. A palace guard, making his routine rounds, witnessed a slender figure gliding through the corridor, candlelight dancing on gold jewelry. She carried a small, cloth-wrapped bundle in her arms. The guard froze, silently bowing, and she passed without even glancing his way. Though his curiosity stirred, he knew better than to follow a queen uninvited. Moments later, he heard the faint creak of a door shutting in the depths of the palace. Unbeknownst to most, Lady Kamali had chosen a disused storeroom near the palace's eastern wing as her private retreat. There, she kept the object that had journeyed with her from the kingdom of Katembo, the ebony mirror. Its frame was intricately carved from black wood, etched with symbols of serpents and stars that seemed to shift in the wavering glow of candlelight. The mirror's surface was smooth as obsidian, reflecting its surroundings with unnerving clarity. That night, once she was certain she was alone, Kamali carefully unwrapped the mirror. She breathed in the musty air of the storeroom, her heart fluttering with anticipation. She had been waiting for an auspicious moment, when the moon was high, and her spirit brimming with restless energy, to invoke the mirror's power. She lit a few sticks of myrrh incense, the aromatic smoke curling around her face, and placed them in a small earthen bowl at her feet. Sinking onto a woven reed mat, she extended one graceful hand to trace the carved symbols along the blackwood frame. She whispered an incantation taught to her by her family's elder seers, words that resonated in the hush of the night. Slowly, the surface of the mirror began to ripple like inky water disturbed by a pebble's throw. A faint, luminous glow radiated from within, casting an otherworldly light on Kamali's face. "Ebony mirror," she whispered, her voice shaking with desire, "reveal to me the future of our kingdom and my rightful place upon its throne. Show me who is revered above all others in beauty and grace." For a moment, there was no sound but the crackle of the incense and Kamali's own trembling breath. Then, a soft voice emanated from the shifting surface, echoing as though it came from deep within an ancient well. "You, Kamali, stand tall in wisdom and beauty. Yet there is one whose radiance surpasses even yours, a bud soon to blossom into a flower of unmatched grace, the Princess Zuri." Kamali's slender fingers dug into the edges of the mirror as a wave of fury coursed through her veins. She had suspected as much. Zuri's every giggle and kind smile seemed to enchant everyone around her, from the lowliest servant to the highest court official. King Ekundayo cherished his daughter above all else, showering her with attention and affection that Kamali secretly envied. But to hear it voiced by the mirror's power, that was more than she could bear. She exhaled shakily, wrestling her rage into composure. "A mere child," she murmured, her voice strained, "and already she is destined to outshine me. No. I won't let that happen." Biting her lower lip, she wrapped the mirror once again in the cloth, extinguishing its glow. She sat in silence for a long moment, heart pounding, before carefully locking the ebony mirror away. The next morning, palace life resumed as usual. Sunlight filtered through the wide windows, gilding the marble floors in soft gold. Servants hurried about with baskets of fresh maize and sheaves of sorghum to be ground in the courtyard. Drums pulsed in the distance, some traveling musicians were entertaining villagers in the marketplace, adding a festive backdrop to the day. Kamali, regal and refined, appeared at the breakfast table beside the king. Dressed in her vibrant Kent cloth robes, she smiled politely at the assembled courtiers, though her eyes flickered warily in Princess Zuri's direction. On the surface, nothing was amiss. The queen placed a tender hand on Zuri's head, an outward gesture of motherly affection. Zuri beamed, delighted by any scrap of kindness from the woman she was trying to accept as a parent. King Ekundayo, preoccupied with matters of state, saw only a welcome sign of unity in his household. But beneath Kamali's mask of grace lay a creeping sense of determination and jealousy. She could not forget the mirror's pronouncement. She found herself scrutinizing the princess's every gesture, the bright intelligence in the child's eyes, the easy way she made others smile, and the way her skin glowed in the morning light, a testament to the spirit of Queen Nambala, whose memory still warmed the hearts of all. Day by day, Kamali's envy grew, fueled by every kind word spoken about Zuri. She would politely dismiss the praises to maintain her cover, but privately, her thoughts circled back to the ebony mirror's prophecy. She found excuses to isolate the princess from large gatherings, subtly directing King Ekundayo's attention elsewhere. If a festival was declared, Kamali contrived to keep Zuri inside, claiming the child must rest or study. If visitors arrived with gifts for the princess, Kamali quietly intercepted them, ensuring they never reached the little girl's eager hands. For Zuri, the sudden shift was perplexing. She sensed an undercurrent of tension whenever the queen was near, yet she could not decipher its source. Though her father doted on her, palace life was complicated by Kamali's watchful gaze. Zuri escaped whenever she could to play in the gardens or visit the stables to feed the regal sables and the swift-footed antelopes. She found solace in nature's embrace, chasing butterflies under the baobab tree or listening to the melodious calls of the hornbills perched on its highest branches. Meanwhile, Kamali began planning her next step. She reasoned that if she could not bend Zuri's fate to her will, then she would find a way to remove her altogether. Each evening, she consulted the ebony mirror, seeking guidance and assurance that her path would secure her status as the most admired woman in all the land. With every answer pointing to Zuri as the thorn in her side, Kamali's resolve hardened. In the darkest corner of the palace, beyond the reach of day's warmth, a quiet malevolence took root in the queen's heart. Little did King Ekundayo or the cheerful princess suspect that the queen's facade of gentleness concealed a heart twisted by envy. And in that hidden chamber, the ebony mirror awaited its next summons, ready to play its part in the ominous destiny unfolding for Princess Zuri and the entire Marula Kingdom. The first hint of rainy season arrived one evening in the Marula Kingdom, thunder rolling across the distant plains, lightning streaking the skies over the tall, swaying grasses. Within the palace walls, King Ekundayo retired early, tired from a day of diplomatic meetings. Princess Zuri, now a lively young girl of 10 years, lingered at one of the grand windows in a quiet corridor, watching the flashes illuminate the courtyard. She felt both awe and a slight trembling excitement at nature's show. Moments later, a handmaiden gently guided her to her chamber. Little did Zuri know that across the palace halls, Queen Kamali's late-night scheming was about to reach its apex. Kamali had grown increasingly restless. Every day, she observed the way Zuri's smile captivated the people, the softness in the child's voice when she greeted servants, her eagerness to visit the stable hands, her exuberant laughter brightening every corridor. Servants whispered admiringly about Zuri's kindness, how she seemed to have inherited the warmth and compassion of her late mother, Queen Nambala. All of this only fanned the flames of Kamali's envy. She obsessed over the ebony mirror's prophecy and returned to her secret storeroom night after night, demanding reassurance that she was the fairest in the land. Yet, the mirror's reply remained unwavering. Zuri alone outshone her. One night, after the thunder had rumbled away, Kamali summoned a man named Sanusi, a skilled tracker who had once served her family in Kotembo. He arrived discreetly through the servants' entrance, guided by Kamali's personal guard. Unlike the palace soldiers, who bore bright-crested shields and swords, Sanusi wore muted earth-toned garments suited for blending into the bush. His stance was tense yet respectful before the queen. "Sanusi," Kamali said, her voice low and resolute as she beckoned him closer, "I have a delicate task that requires your unmatched skills. Princess Zuri is to be taken on a journey outside the palace grounds, to the furthest reaches of the savannah, beyond the baobab groves. There, you must ensure that she does not return." For a moment, Sanusi's stoic features wavered. He had heard rumors of Kamali's jealousy and ambition, but to be asked to rid the kingdom of an innocent child was far worse than he anticipated. Still, as a man in debt to Kamali's family, and with the threat of her hidden power looming over him, he dared not refuse. "Your Majesty," he managed to reply. "What proof shall I bring that the deed is done?" Kamali reached into a small wooden chest and retrieved a leather pouch. "Bring me her beaded necklace," she said, voice cold as steel. It was a gift from the king, made by local artisans. "Only I know its unique design. Return with that, and I will know you have carried out my orders." At dawn, when the sunlight had turned the sky a pale pink over the thatched village roofs, Kamali instructed Zuri to accompany Sanusi on a special outing. She claimed that the king wished for her to learn the ways of the land, a fatherly attempt to prepare her for the responsibilities of a princess. At first, Zuri was thrilled. She adored going beyond the palace gates to see the world outside. She threw a light shawl over her shoulders and fastened her precious beaded necklace around her neck. With a cheerful wave to the palace guards, she and Sanusi set off on foot, slipping through the tall grass and into the savannah. As they journeyed further, Zuri's curious eyes darted from one marvel to another, a herd of elephants in the distance spraying water from their trunks, a flock of bright lilac-breasted rollers taking flight, and a lone giraffe nibbling leaves from an acacia tree. Despite Sanusi's stern demeanor, Zuri attempted to chat with him about the wonders they passed along the way. Eventually, the pair reached a remote region where ancient marula and baobab trees grew in twisted shapes, their branches casting gnarled shadows on the ground. Thick undergrowth cluttered the forest floor, and vines draped from every limb. Sanusi paused, his heart hammering. A hush seemed to settle over the air. Zuri glanced around, curious why they had ventured so far from the well-known pathways. "Wait here," Sanusi ordered brusquely. He surveyed the area, searching for a place suitably hidden from prying eyes. Though he had braced himself for this moment, the sight of the princess, wide-eyed and brimming with youthful innocence, was almost too much to bear. She smiled at him expectantly, trusting that he only intended to show her something extraordinary in the forest. The memory of her earlier laughter tugged at his conscience. Slowly, he reached for his dagger, the blade glinting dully in the sparse sunlight. As he turned to face her, every cautionary tale he had ever heard rushed through his mind. Princess Zuri stood before him, a fragile life so beloved by the kingdom. A child as innocent as the morning dew. The weight of his mission felt like a millstone around his neck. "Princess," Sanusi said, swallowing hard. "Forgive me, but his words faltered. Torn between loyalty to the queen's deadly command and pity for the young girl, he struggled to force his next breath. Zuri sensed his turmoil. Alarm flickered in her dark eyes. She took a cautious step back, confusion etched on her face. "What's wrong?" she asked softly. "Why do you look so sad?" Sanusi's grip on the dagger trembled. He thought of the darkness lurking in Kamali's ambition, and then of King Ekundayo's kindness. Finally, he realized he could not commit this vile act. He dropped to one knee, lowering the dagger in the dust. "Princess, you must run," he whispered, urgent and trembling. "The queen, she ordered me to end your life. I was to return with your necklace as proof. But I cannot do this. You must flee, disappear into the forest. Never return to the palace while the queen rules." Tears welled in Zuri's eyes. The revelation was like a stabbing betrayal. Yet amid her shock, she understood she had no choice but to trust the remorseful tracker's warning. Her heart pounded with fear, but she summoned her courage. Sanusi removed his own beaded wristband, similar in color to Zuri's necklace, and placed it in his satchel. "I will deliver this to the queen in place of yours," he explained hurriedly, telling her, "I found it on your remains. That may buy you time." With tears streaming down her face, Zuri removed her necklace and pressed it into Sanusi's hand. "I cannot keep this," she said, voice trembling, "or anyone who sees it will know who I am." Sanusi nodded. "Gods protect you, princess. Now, hurry." A tearful goodbye passed between them, and then Zuri ran, plunging deeper into the dense forest. The wind carried the rustle of her footsteps away, leaving Sanusi alone, overwhelmed by both relief and dread. He knew he would face dire consequences if the queen ever discovered his deceit. But the innocence in Zuri's eyes had forced him to choose compassion over cruelty. Somewhere behind them, thunder rumbled again in the distance, heralding the rainy season's approach. It seemed a fitting symbol of the dark storm gathering in the Marula Kingdom, one that would rage as long as Queen Kamali's envy remained unchecked. Meanwhile, Princess Zuri vanished among the towering baobabs, her fate uncertain, her hope now resting in the wilds of the African savanna.